Hello, this is Anne, and you're listening to Beautiful Noise, the podcast. Welcome to season 2 of our show. Before this episode starts, I would like to announce a few things. First, we have moved our show to platforms specific for podcast listening, such as Spotify, Google Podcast, and whichever one you're listening on right now. Our YouTube channel will be dedicated to more video and visual content, so stay tuned for that. Second, we are working on a more regular schedule for episode release, as well as releasing more episodes per month. We'll start having weekly podcasts where Tung and I just talk banter and joke about anything relevant or not relevant to photography. Along with that, we'll also have episodes on more serious topics that have been well researched and fact-checked for both Vietnamese-speaking and English-speaking listeners. Third and final point, we now have a Patreon. By listening to our show, you're already supporting us greatly. However, if you'd like to support us even more, and maybe you want to see more bonus content, please head over to our Patreon page and consider becoming a patron. I'll include the link in the show notes. All the benefits of becoming a patron are presented and explained on the landing page. We really love doing this, and we really love the noise community as well. And with your support, we'll be able to put out more quality content more frequently. Thank you so much for all the noise you're making. And now, episode 6.
Các bạn đang lắng nghe những tiếng vang rực rỡ.
So that article you showed me about, as a photographer, and because of the recent ongoing protests, and which we have attended, and there's been a backlash against, or especially on Twitter, saying we need to blur out people's face, and so that they won't be recognized. But as photojournalism goes, how do you feel about it? Like, do you think that's you altering your image, crossing out people's face? Is that benefiting, or is it really just going? It's more destructive than anything else.
So I'm pulling up the article right now.
Yeah.
Just so that I'll give a little bit of context. So this is an article from Wired. It's written by Brent Lewis, and it says, blurring faces is anti-journalistic and anti-human. And then the subtitle goes, photojournalists aren't at protests to pick a side. Altering photographs destroys trust and neglects the truth that people want to be seen. So regarding this topic, I've also had to really think about, because like you said, we both attended these protests, and we obviously took pictures of the protest itself and then the people who attended the protest. And I think on the scene, I was just focused on documenting, sort of be there as a witness, right?
Yeah.
And to take that upon myself, I think that's the kind of it's the most sensible thing that one could do right now as a photographer, right? To provide media coverage for what's going on, to stay relevant, to keep people updated. And then when I go home and then I have all the pictures done and just in my laptop, and I'm faced with that sort of dilemma, like, okay, but if I'm out documenting the times, I have to share it, right?
Yeah.
I have to share it with other people. Media coverage means nothing if you keep it on your hard drive. So how do I share it correctly then? With, stories you hear all the times about how protesters get identified from pictures all the time, and they get arrested or they get murdered under mysterious circumstances. Like the thing that all the people who died after the protest in Ferguson.
Right.
And then also with like people going on social media, protesters going on social media, begging photographers to not post anything with at least anything with their faces
Yeah.
in it. And so when facing with that, I was like, okay, well then should I blur stuff out? You know, should I draw a little, bar across their faces and just post a picture, and provide some sort of narrative? And personally, if you're asking me, do I like censoring my images? No, I don't. I never liked it. Before going to the protest, obviously I knew about these ethics because people were talking about these ethics. Because prior to the one that happened in Dallas, people were protesting in Minneapolis and LA and Atlanta, right? And so, of course, I knew about the whole blurring faces out and censoring faces out. But I thought, I'll just go anyway and see what happens, and see what I come home with. And I think subconsciously I was also kind of, I was shy away from photographing people's faces. I was mostly photographing the police, photographing the violence, the chaos, but like I tried to avoid getting people's full faces in my camera, in my pictures.
Yeah.
And like I didn't enjoy that very much. If you remember, I think I told you that I only took like 2 rolls of film, and like, I mean, you took like what, way more, right? And like other people had way more pictures. I only had 2 because I was limiting myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to like have too much out there. So I don't know. What's the point? Yeah, coming back to my question, what's the point of media coverage if you don't share it or you don't post it or you post it with very limited exposure? So how do you take that article, that opinion? It is an opinion piece, by the way. It's not supposed to,
There's no right way of going about it, right? And the same as you, I'm hesitant as well. I mean, we both went in just because the idea of this is the time to witness, right? And to show support. And that's why we're out there and that's why everybody's protesting, to show your support. But as somebody who also take pictures, you also have that responsibility on you. The ultimate thing is like, I don't want to hurt anybody, right? As a result of me taking pictures. And so when it comes down to it, like, what am I doing with these pictures? And I mean, as you've seen, I'm hesitant to post them on Instagram. Because I don't want to show people's faces. But I don't know. It's a tough question, man. I do agree that, because this is protest there, people show up. So you kind of accepted this, this weird thing that could happen, right? Like you're out there, you're protesting, you're showing support, which means you're making yourself present, right? People are making themselves heard to show support. So to, I don't know, eliminate themselves from the, could be consequences. I'm not sure. Like, how do we, I don't know.
I don't want to, I really don't want to come across as, I'm sort of devaluing or not considering the effort. I mean, the effort of every single protester is amazing. Like, yeah, you go out there and you protest for what you think is right. That I always support. But doing that with the awareness that you will be recorded I think is a necessary thing to do to prepare yourself before you go out, right? I do agree with the article in the sense that photographing photographing civil rights movement and protests throughout history have always been about showing people's anger and frustration.
Yeah.
And if you blur out their face, how can you see that expression?
Right.
If all you see is just arms and legs, I mean, you're kind of taking away the soul of the protest.
Right.
You're just showing chaos. I will also admit that I've made this not mistake, but I've done this whenever I post. If you go on my Instagram feed, you'll see like about 6 photos on there.
Yeah.
About 3 of them are about police or of the police, which I don't care to censor out. But I do have 2 or 3 posts where I'm showing protesters. And with the way that I was conscious about not showing faces, I composed those images so that their faces wouldn't be shown at all in the frame.
Right.
And then I had one where I couldn't crop, I couldn't compose it any other way. So I resorted to drawing a bar across their eyes.
Right.
Not blurring the whole face. I mean, you can tell I did it so that you could still kind of see their expression, but you just couldn't see their eyes. So I was just hoping that maybe like the facial recognition system wouldn't fully recognize it. I was mostly concerned about that.
Yeah.
I think I was also pretty upset that I had to do it. Not that, I just like, I don't like ruining my pictures. I don't know. I don't like drawing stuff. I don't know. I just don't like doing that too.
I don't think like it's about ruining the picture.
Yeah.
It's more like we feel like we don't want to dilute that, it's not even because I don't think it's a piece of art or anything like that. I think it's, okay, this is that time being. And for us to pick that photo, I mean, we see the importance in it, right? And for us to feel weird about crossing on somebody's face, I almost feel like we're diluting that important moment of that, that certain things, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't mean it like ruining the composition, but like you said, it's ruining that moment, right?
Yeah.
Like having an expression on someone's face, and then you like I believe most of your expression comes from your eyes, and like blurring out your eyes means you're taking away about like 90% of that expression. So that's what I mean by ruining. It's not really ruining art. Like I don't care about that. But then I still had to do it because I thought, well, one, I think like the very first reason why I was convinced that I should do it was I just didn't want to be confronted by my followers, because I think I was told to not post any videos, because I was posting some videos of that day, of that night. And so I think some videos had like people's faces in there. And then I think a follower messaged me and said, like, could you not post them? And then, I was just afraid of the confrontation. I just didn't want to deal with people asking me like questions about my ethics. And then the other one was I was genuinely concerned about the whole facial recognition thing. Like I just didn't want, like you said, I didn't want my pictures to put other people at risk.
You don't want the picture to cut like police is showing up at somebody's front door at 2 a.m. in the morning.
That
right?
would be so messed up, because it's like, the photo is of the protest against brutality, but yet it incites more brutality for the people in that photo.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to just think about the whole morality. So I was just like, I'll just draw a bar across their eyes. I think this should help.
Yeah.
But like going back to like what I think about, instead of telling people to censor out, instead of telling photographers to censor out faces, why don't you come in the protest prepared? Just an opinion, because we went, and like I told everybody in our group to just wear nondescript t-shirts, single colored, solid color black, if possible, and cover your face. Also, it's good to cover your faces these days anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Wear a hat, hide your hair, hide your tattoos, and then really going prepared means you're making yourself safer, and you also, I don't know, you have the ease of knowing that there will be some media coverage, and media coverage is really what you need, right? There's no point in like protesting and then no one's talking about it.
Yeah, I think we both succumb to the sensitive of the situation, and ultimately we don't want anybody hurt. As a result, we were sensitive about, because there's already enough hurting, right? Out there, there's this whole thing, because like we saw this incident that pretty much hurt a community, and it hurts everybody around it as well. And so we just didn't want to add to that that pull. And so for me, like, I don't know how to pose them because, like, these daft people's faces. I feel like it at the same time, I feel like I would contribute little to nothing for this effort, But then at the same time, I'm betraying the reason that I was there, right? I was there to do this thing, to capture this time, this place in America. But yet, now that I'm sitting at my desk, I'm like, what? I don't know, just like confronting with my own, I guess, like cowardiceness, and like, I guess I haven't thought it through as much as I have.
Let me ask you this then. Realistically, what are you going to do with those photos?
I think at this point, I think as we walking through this conversation, because it really is the first time we kind of talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just gonna post them. I think because at the end of the day, it is important. The more we have proof of this protest, right? Of this time that we're living through, the more proof we show out there of what's going on, like our and where our belief goes, and the more stronger the movement would be. I think it would truly benefit, where this is going, where the movement's going, and yeah, I think I've come to accept that.
Oh, that's really good. I mean, that's what I've been kind of just been telling myself, like, yeah, what is my contribution,
Right.
and I oftentimes I don't try to think too much on that question, because I just feel like but instead of thinking about this question, I'll just contribute, like,
Yeah.
that the same way with like how people kind of talk themselves out of donating or signing a petition, that thing where like, well, what is it really gonna do? Like, how am I really contributing? Oh, I feel like my signature is so small, my donation is so small that it won't really do anything. But I think I've gone over that mindset, because I've whenever I posted stuff a few weeks ago, I did see it being shared. I did see it being a point of conversation, actually. And like that, especially that picture that I posted of, my cousin, his injuries from getting shot.
Yeah.
That picture actually started a conversation within my family. So, hey, it did something,
Right.
It showed them that, hey, one of us went out there and actually came back with an injury. So how does that make you feel? People won't be moved unless one of their own kind gets it.
Yeah.
And I saw that happening. So I was like, okay, cool. Okay, so I see it now. And then I started posting pictures of like the police, that were present at the protests. And then that also got conversations, because they saw how violent they looked. They saw how aggressive they looked. And I guess my pictures, and plus my caption, I do antagonize them a whole lot in my caption. And then that alone, gets people kind of riled up, So I've chosen that to be my focus of sharing and contribution, like getting conversation started, really, like just showing what I saw, showing them what I saw. Like, there's no glory in this,
Right.
And that idea of glory is also something that made me, like, I felt afraid of doing, because I was just like, I was afraid that I was putting someone else at risk, but here I am receiving likes and reposts and shares. Is that really ethical? Like, I don't see I don't care for the benefits for me.
Right.
I do care about those images being seen around the world.
Yeah.
And they have been seen.
Yeah, that maybe it's just more of like your own sense of moral is talking, and it's more like a first thought, knee-jerk reaction, right, of your own characters. And it's completely valid, but we have to think about, like you said, to make our own to start conversation, right? And that's really all we can do as somebody who take pictures, is that we can start this micro, you know, conversation, not needing to be anywhere else, but within our own circle. Like you said, because of those pictures that you posted, you were recognized by your own family about the situation. That opened up conversation. And really, that I think that's the best way to put it. And like we should post pictures to start conversation with our friends, our family, and then open up dialogue, because it is a sensitive topic, and we don't talk enough. And if we don't talk, obviously, as you and I experienced, there are a lot of people on the opposite side, right? That we were frustrated of why they come to that conclusion, and then and again, it's just not something that's talked about enough.
And certainly there's a bit of like that thing I said, people won't care as much until they see one of their own gets injured or gets something bad happens to them, right?
Yeah.
And funny enough, like within my family, like I said, that picture, before that picture got posted, there was that sort of I think what, like May 30th, and then the day after that was when I started kind of getting the reactions from my family, like, oh, why did you go, like, why did you protest?
Mm-hmm.
It's not your business, it's not your issue.
Yeah.
I thought you only went, and I told you how I told before leaving my house, I told my parents that I was just gonna go to document, to witness stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I came home, I was kind of a different person. And then the following days, they saw that I was a very avid supporter of the movement, and then they were surprised, because they thought that I only wanted to go for the pictures, to witness. And then I told them, what do you do after witnessing something bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, you taught me to stand up for what's right, and that this is what I'm doing, because I witnessed something bad, and now I want to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And even my other relatives, like my grandparents, were also questioning, like, why did you go? Why did you drag your cousin to go? Like, it's dangerous and da. And then that was really the point where I thought, I'm gonna post that picture. I want to post that picture of his rubber bullet injury. And when I did, it was like shared around like the group chats within my family. And then the mood was different after that, because I could feel it. Like, after that, they were angry, their nephew, grandson, cousin, was injured by the police.
Yeah.
And when they knew the story that he was just standing there filming, they got even angrier.
Yeah.
They could see that brutality. It actually helped my narrative, because I said, see, that was just a one time that he got it. Imagine getting it on a daily basis. Imagine getting it on a daily basis, and then when you speak about it, no one listens to you,
right?
Because you got no voice.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, we kind of get it now, but still don't go out there, because it's still dangerous. But either way, it helped. That picture, me posting it, actually helped.
Yeah, and come back to the whole thing of like showing your face, because you in a sense you want to be representing as well, right? You want to be there, know that you're there to support and to go against this injustice. And so I don't think people should, I don't know, shy away from it. But then, with that thing, the police doesn't need one way to track you down, right? They got minivan parking on the sideline, tracking everybody's phone. They got drones. They got even insider. They have group chat made for protesters to join. So there's never one way about it. But at the same time, you know,
They're also out there filming us too.
yeah,
You know, we saw that.
we actually saw undercover protester.
Yeah.
You know that I mean
Yeah,
undercover
cops.
cops that dress as
Yeah.
protester. You know, joining us and like in some of them inciting people as well.
When I pointed to that guy and I said that's the undercover cop, because he was not facing the police, he was facing us, filming
Yeah.
us, and I was like, that's weird. And also he when my cousin got shot by that rubber bullet, that guy was in front of my cousin and he didn't get shot. So I'm like, oh, this guy's definitely undercover. And then we saw another guy walking past us, just filming our faces and stuff. Like, no journalist would be out doing this, you know? Like, if you're out here filming, you're filming the entire thing. You don't just, like, bring your phone up to people's faces and trying to get their identity.
Yeah.
And with that point, you know, yeah, like, social media is powerful, but the sad truth is, if they want to identify you, I think they would have done that already.
Yeah.
You know? But again, I think just be prepared, you know, just be safe, know what to do. And like you said, you know, if you go out protesting, the idea of having your face shown or having your frustration be shown, it is a noble thing to do. The protest needs to have a soul, and the soul is in the face.
Yeah.
And if you take that away, then you are taking the humanistic part out of a protest. I think even as we're talking about it, I'm still very hesitant about fully exposing other people's faces, because there was that one point on the May 30th protest in Dallas where people started taking down like construction barricades.
Yeah.
See, that's an offense, right? And I had some pictures of people doing that, and I looked through them. And I decided not to post them because like their faces were shown. See, that's something that I would decide against posting.
Right. So I guess in a sense, you have the power to post, I guess, certain photos, selection. But then if you think about it, let's say in China where real consequences can happen, right?
Yeah.
What do you do then, you know? Let's say Hong Kong right now where people are protesting. You know, putting a face to a protest, that can be really dangerous.
And that's why people in Hong Kong are very, you know, they're very adamant on getting their face covered. You should also cover your face anyway because it's COVID-19 season. So, I mean, there's no argument against that, right?
Yeah.
I think my argument has that advantage because we're talking about it in 2020 and having your face covered is always recommended anyway.
Yeah.
There's no point for you to risk your own life from contracting the disease by taking off your mask. So you should keep that mask on, or you should keep your face covering on anyway, right? Regardless of, well, you know, soul or not, you should also do it. But like, let's just imagine a world without COVID-19.
Yeah.
I think, well, what do you think about just where the problem of police identification, only that exists? There's no disease. Should people show their face anyway?
That's a hard one. I mean, I do want for people to be safe. And let's say if we do live in a police state, right? We kind of do.
We kind of do, yeah.
And, you know, again, I don't want, you know, people to get knocked. I don't want to be a snitch, you know? Exactly. I don't want to be snitching on somebody.
This brings up the other problem I have with this issue, with the issue in the article. And that is that very first line. It says, photojournalists are not there to pick a side.
Yeah.
I think I have a problem with that personally because, I mean, mainly because I picked a side.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you could say you're not supposed to, but yeah, I feel like when you pick a side, you also can navigate your photojournalistic sense better. I don't know where I'm taking with this, but it's like if you know you're on the side of, say, there's only right and wrong, right? And you're on the right side, you can also expose the wrong side more effectively. But if you say you're not there to pick a side, then what are you? I don't know, just like mediocre, neutral media coverage? Is that what we need? I don't know. I guess if you pick a side, it becomes propaganda.
Yeah, if that's where it comes in, right? If you pick a side, that's what. Are we really photojournalists though?
Oh no, we're not. No, we're
yeah.
not. But I'm just discussing the article. But
Yeah.
we're not, and that's why we pick a side. Yeah. We don't call ourselves photojournalists, by the way.
Yeah, and because we're not, and because we're there because we trying to show support for, you know, this Black Lives Movement, you shouldn't be picking something. I don't know. That just depend on your moral, right? And depend on how you want to do it. It's a personal thing, and I think everybody's gonna have some point they're gonna step in, right? There's gonna be a moment where that person feel like they need to intervene, and that's entirely up to them. Everybody have their moment, really. So I can't really say. There's no answer to that, man. I don't think there is.
Yeah, that sucks. That was I'm kidding. But no, that's true. I think I just wanted to ask that question.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, you're right. You know, we're not photojournalists, and that's why we picked a side. Had we been photojournalists, I mean, we would have had assignments and then details regarding that assignment. And then I think, well, we, you know, it'd be like, you know, a job that you have to do, and you have to do it correctly. Obviously, if your newspaper tells you, hey, don't have a bias, then you're not supposed to have a bias because it's a job.
Right.
Even if you don't show your bias, I think you should also have a pretty good stance on your own morality.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I mean by like picking a side.
Well, I guess we do just show up with an open-mindedness of a sense, and whatever we discover, and whatever unveil. But there is like an objective for showing up, right?
Yeah. And the objective definitely wasn't Blue Lives Matter. We didn't show up to support the cops, right?
Nah.
So
fuck the cops.
Yeah. And so, you know, with that article being published, and obviously the reason why I even showed you that article, because I saw someone posting it, sharing it, and saying that they agree with it. And that person is also a photographer that we both know. And I initially was just a little bit surprised that the article was even written, because I just didn't. I guess I would just not. I was not expecting the other opinion. I was just assuming that, okay, everybody now should respect the protesters' identity because of all that bad thing that happened to the previous protesters.
Yeah.
But then seeing this article written, I was like, oh wait, there's opposition to this whole thing. And then I read it, and then, you know, more or less, okay, I can see how I could agree with this. And that's why I wanted to bring it on the table today. And then I also saw myself doing like ourselves posting photos as a sign of like support. And that's why I feel like it's important to share. You know, it's important to share the like evidence of what's going on, because evidence is really what photographers are really great at doing, right? Collecting evidence of their times. And I think to effectively do it, you have to do it without censoring. So that's got to be, I guess, my I think I've been, I would say I've been fully persuaded. You know, because I think initially I was just like, I don't know, should you do it? Should we do it as photographers? Do we feel okay with exposing their identity? You know, so, but I think we are supposed to. Not exposing, not like snitching, but just showing
right
the the evidence that it happened.
Yeah, the existence of it. And if we think of it, the current time being, right, versus future timeline, and let's apply that to a picture of what's the guy that shot Kennedy?
Damn, I don't know,
Yeah.
but okay, that guy
Doesn't matter,
yeah,
right? And there's a picture of him being assassinated, right?
Oh yeah, by an FBI agent.
Yeah,
Getting shot in the stomach.
and so in the context of that photo, should it had been taken, right? As in,
I don't think the photographer had a clue. I think he was just reporting on the arrest of him. What is his name? I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue right now.
2 hours later.
There we go. Lee Harvey Oswald.
yes,
Yeah. So yeah.
for somebody who lived in Dallas, how did I forget that name? But I guess it should be forgotten anyways.
There's a tourist spot for the whole assassination though. It's funny though. Anyway, right. Just I don't know. I mean, was the photographer? I don't think he was aware of what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then, did you also want to say something? Because I also want to bring up a similar case of
No, go ahead.
accidental, or not accidental, but like, yeah. But there's that picture, very famous picture from the Vietnam War of the South Vietnamese officer executing a Viet Cong personnel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like the gun to the head. Yeah, just instant execution. I was always so fascinated with that picture just because, well, just on the whole technical side, how was it even taken? Like, how do you even take the very split second of the moment that the gun was fired, right? It was, what kind of chance is that? So I looked up the photographer. And I forgot the photographer's name. I'm sorry. I looked up that moment, and the photographer said that he always regretted taking that picture and then publishing it.
Yeah.
Because it ruined the officer's life.
It did.
Yeah. General.
To follow him to the pretty much like the end of his life.
Yeah. He, after the war, he fled the country, moved to somewhere in the Northeast.
I think was it Virginia?
I think it was Virginia. He opened a burger shop.
Pizza.
A pizza? Yeah. A pizza store, pizza restaurant. And then he was still talked about in the newspaper about that war atrocity. And really, because that picture alone showed the atrocity.
Right.
But most people don't know that, well, one, that kind of execution would happen, anywhere during that war.
Yeah.
And also, two, the guy he executed, he wasn't a good guy. I mean, even for a war participant, he was not a good war participant because he was a Viet Cong commando who would sneak up into officers' houses and kill their family.
Yeah.
So,
but then that picture caused the general pretty much hardship until his restaurant would be routinely harassed. They would be like crazy thing written him as being like a warmonger, as like pretty much you kill this person.
And the thing about that picture that I think that just proves the point of how photography can be very lethal, especially what we're talking about, with getting people identified and all that, is because with a photo you can see that moment frozen, completely still. You don't see what happened before. You don't really see what happened after. You really have very little visual clues besides what you're seeing. And that picture has him holding the pistol, and he's wearing like full-on military uniform. And the guy who he shot was wearing some civilian clothing. And so it's very easy to assume that he was executing a civilian, right?
Yeah.
But again, like I said, most people don't know that guy, the guy that got executed, is a crazed murderer who just happened to be working for the Viet Cong. I think that guy he just wanted to kill people, So that's my personal take on it. But yeah, like with Lee Harvey Oswald, his execution, kind of the same deal, you know. It created a bit of a shock, you know. It created distrust in the American people because I think a lot of people, obviously, you know, all the conspiracies surrounding that picture.
Yeah.
How like, oh, it was a cover up, you know. The official statement from the guy who shot him was that he just felt enraged and that's why he shot him.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll never know, you know. I don't know what. Just bringing. I think this bit is interesting because it does
highlight important pictures.
Important pictures, yeah. Taking looking at history of photojournalism, you can also see that there was never any censorship, or at least pictures who we got to see, right? Again, we never know. There might be other pictures too that got censored entirely, and that's why we don't see it. But at least the ones we do see, we don't see any censorship. So, but then again, well, that guy, that general who got arrested anyway because it was published in the newspaper, and he was identified very quickly. I was gonna make the comparison that these days it's even more lethal because we have facial recognition, we have social media, and it's very easy to just track someone.
Yeah.
There are even websites websites that let you search for people, and it will pull up like the address and everything.
So, what do we take from the article?
Fully my own take on that article is I think you just gotta make up your mind for yourself as a photographer, you know, whatever that's appropriate. Kind of like my case when that picture of protesters taking the barricades, you know, off and then setting up their own barricades in the street.
Yeah.
I deem that as maybe harmful to the protesters, so I didn't post that. But pictures of people dodging bullets, I posted that just because I don't think that's a harmful, a harmful act, you know, or like a unlawful act to society. It's literally people just dodging police brutality, you know. So that's why I posted that. So I think, you know, just make up your own mind, decide which serves your message best.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is for you to decide on yourself. And also, like, you know, that the Twitter thing it says, and facial recognition and all that potential harm, right? Take it as that cautionary measure when you go out. And at the same time, if you're going to post picture, context is important too, right? Context and to shed lights on what you're showing is important, and it will help. I believe it will help in the long run. So with basically context, you mean like providing like caption, like a well-written caption, or what do you mean? Or just provide of what's going on there.
Oh, okay.
You know, because a picture can be interpreted. I don't know.
Oh, that's true.
Whoever, depend on the looker, right?
Yeah.
And so if you provide a narrative or providing context to your photos would alleviate some of that, you know, byproducts of sort. And so that is sort of my conclusion to it. And it, you know, it really varies from person to person. And as we said, you know, it's also your code of conduct as well. And so what do you as a listener think? What do you know?
Yeah.
If you out there taking pictures or out there protesting, tell us what you believe in.
Mm-hmm. You know, and our email is always open, so feel free to email us. We're still taking voice submission, or should we call it noise submission? We're still taking noise submission from listeners. Feel free to send us recordings of you responding to us, responding to this question, the question that Tung just asked, or just saying something. We enjoy everything that you've sent us so far, and we'd like to see more. And then, on Instagram, we're always on Instagram. We basically operate 24/7. So if you have a response or an answer to anything that we're talking about in this episode, feel free to just shoot us a message. Feedback is always great. And talking about feedback, that is essentially how our show is operated, because noise in essentially in noise making, you need feedback, right? Just like in audio production, like feedback is when you hear an echo, right, from someone's voice bounce back into your own voice, and that's feedback. I think that's what feedback is. So feel free to just contribute. We're always looking for contributing thoughts, opinions, and ideas. So yeah, once again, we got the email, we got the messages on Instagram, and also Facebook. You can always message us on Facebook as well. We have a Facebook page. Link will be in the description. Actually, all the links for everything that we have will be in the description. And that's it for this episode.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the noise.
I know we didn't provide you with an answer, but maybe just something to think about.
But then we never really provide anything. Right? But yeah, thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Các anh từ Hội chủ nghĩa Việt Nam